Derek Lewis may knock out Francis and then knock me out afterwards. I don't know. I know they got guys that are lined up to fight me. He's been sizing me up since I got back there and called me small. He's like, well, you're a lot smaller than everybody up here. That's rude, Derek. He said it. Like, wow, you're a lot smaller than everybody else. What? That's crazy.
There you are.
Derek, what's your issue with Daniel?
I want to know, too.
He disrespected Popeye's chicken.
Derek Lewis is an American treasure.
Jenna, that means he says things like you, like it's totally unexpected.
Oh, you haven't seen, you got to watch his interview after his fight from this weekend.
Okay.
He was getting worked in this fight. With a minute left, caught him with a quick cross, went to sleep, and after the interview, 2 minutes of gold with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and his previous fights and everything.
Oh.
One of his fights, he finished the guy off and he said, why'd you take your pants off? He said, I had to do number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, I had to go do number two.
Wow.
And he said, I was hot.
I was hot. I was, yeah.
And my undercarriage was hot.
Okay. Just YouTube the thing, America. We can't give the play-by-play what Derek Lewis said. Now, Daniel Cormier.
That's why it's on the segment Say What, Nick.
Okay.
I thought I was free. I thought I had, like,
carte blanche?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Daniel Cormier is a friend of the show, and he should win that fight. I'm rooting for Derek Lewis. I want more Derek Lewis in our lives.
Not less. Time for stories to start your morning. Lonzo Ball made his debut alongside LeBron last night as the Lakers took on Golden State. LeBron had 15 points. Lonzo chipped in 7 off the bench. See, what was your biggest takeaway seeing the two of these guys together finally?
I like to see the young players, Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kuzma, and how comfortable they were with LeBron on the court. Didn't see it as much as I would like to, but Kuzma coming in playing the 5. LeBron potentially being the 4. Ingram at the 3. Lonzo running things from the point. The Lakers fans, you got to be happy, well, except the ones cheering for Kobe. Other Lakers fans like me, got to be excited to see them on the court together.
Not a lot of defense from either team in this game, which is interesting on the Warriors' end because everybody on that team thinks they're first team all defense. Everybody thinks their defense being disrespected.
Their defender was Draymond. He was on the baseline chilling.
Okay, but KD was playing. Our guy Clay was playing. But regardless, the most important stat for the Lakers this year is going to be defensive rating. The offense will be fine because if you have LeBron, the offense is always fine.
And don't get carried away earlier in the season. Maybe the last 40, 30 games measure how they're doing.
Absolutely right. Post All-Star break, offensive rating, I know will be top 5. What will their defensive rating be?
Two of LeBron's former teammates made some interesting comments yesterday. Both Kevin Love and Kyrie admitted playing with LeBron was sometimes a struggle. Love said there were dark times when he was teamed up with LeBron, while Kyrie said leaving Cleveland was the best thing he's ever done. See, what was your reaction to these comments?
My reaction is people who are really talented and people who are the most accomplished in their field, they're hard to work with. I'm pretty certain Bill Gates, people have problems working with him. What about Jobs? People just lining up to work with him? No, talented people, they have greater requirements, not only on their ability, but on the people around them. So, yes, it can be difficult, but it's been beneficial for all those who have played around LeBron.
And Kyrie wants to be the man. He wants to be the starring actor in his own movie, Uncle Drew notwithstanding. And I do not begrudge him that one bit, even if I didn't love the way he exited Cleveland. Kevin Love, playing with LeBron was the best thing to ever happen to him and also the most difficult thing to ever happen to him. Now he got $200 million contracts out of it, got a championship out of it, but it's not for everybody.
Same thing with Nick Wright. Best thing he ever did, besides Danielle and her kids.
Team up with me.
You know it, Jenna.
But you were a close third, Nick. CC. There you go. On to the NFL, where the young upstart Patrick Mahomes will be going up against the grizzled veteran Tom Brady, or in other words, great going against great. Keep in mind their age difference here. Mahomes was 6 years old when Brady won his first Super Bowl with the Patriots. He's admitted to modeling parts of his game after him. See, which quarterback has the edge Sunday, Mahomes or Brady?
Tom Brady. Tom Brady's got the edge against any quarterback in any situation. We can be weather. We can be playing at home. We can be playing on the road. Well, let's just go to the playoffs where he's the greatest ever. What about the fourth quarter in the playoffs? What about fourth quarter in the Super Bowl? Tom Brady has every number, every advantage in a quarterback comparison. The only thing he don't have, though, is the weapons that Patty Mahomes has around him. And that's why this is going to be a spectacular shootout, just like last year when he played against Deshaun Watson. Remember that game?
That was a fantastic game last year that came down to the very end. Brandon Cooks touchdown in front of the end zone. The biggest edge Tom Brady has in this game is that he gets to play against the Chiefs defense and Patrick Mahomes doesn't. The one thing the Chiefs defense has done well this year is get to the opposing quarterback, but they aren't going to have Justin Houston this game, it looks like, who is the best on their team along with Dee Ford at doing that. This is the hardest game on the Chiefs' schedule. If the Chiefs win this game, you can lock it in right now. They are the 1 seed in the AFC. If they win this game, that's what they're playing for on Sunday night.
Heard it here from Nick Wright first, people.
Let's talk a little Baker Mayfield. The Browns' fiery and fun-to-watch quarterback has led the Browns to 2 wins in their first 5 games. I'll do a little math for you on the fly. That's more wins than they had the last 2 seasons combined. He was asked whether or not the recent winning proves the Browns aren't bad. Here's what Baker Mayfield had to say.
I've known the Browns weren't bad since the second I stepped foot in this franchise. We had a special team from the get-go. Whoever we're playing has nothing to do with this team. You know, we believe in this team we have. Management's put together a great group of guys, and so it's on us from now to learn and move forward. We're a 1 week at a time mindset. You know, we moved on from the first 4 games of the season. Now we're into the second quarter, and we're looking at a chance to go 2-0. You know, if you win each quarter, you're looking at a great possibility of going to the playoffs. And so we just got to take care of business 1 game at a time. You know, obviously the end goal, yes, is to win the division and make the playoffs, but you don't do that unless you take it 1 week at a time.
Stacey, how important is it for Baker to be that confident in that locker room, for guys to see that he not only can do it, but he's also confident and knows it? How much has that factored into how this team's been successful?
I believe it's very, very important what type of quarterback you have, depending on what type of organization and team you have. When you have a team that does not have a lot of success compared to a team that they had one of their biggest victories in Baltimore, when Joe Flacco took over for Baltimore, they had won. They had great leaders on the defense, so his overall leadership and his leadership style, it wasn't that important.
He was able to grow into the role.
Yeah, they had Ed Reed, they had Ray Lewis, one of the great leaders we've ever had in the pro football, so his leadership was different. Baker, taking over a team that you had mentioned won 1 game in the last 2 years, the intangibles become more important than his ability on the field, because we felt like he could play, but how can he lead? And the one thing that people get wrong in sports is a guy might be a great leader in high school. He might be a tremendous leader in college, but he's never led grown men who are being paid to play football. And that takes a special type of leadership. And that's what, when I went and saw Baker Mayfield last year, when he carved up Ohio State in Ohio Stadium and talking to the support staff and talking to the coaches there, they were like, Cris, don't get consumed with his ability. Man, this kid is a great leader. He has a photographic memory. Guys are attracted to him. So I think when you're trying to turn around a franchise like the Browns, you need a dynamic personality. Not only a guy who can throw the football, a guy who's been through some adversity in his life, like Baker's been through, walking on twice in college football. I believe those things become just as important as, can he read a defense? Can he get to his check down? How does he throw the ball down the seam? Can he grip the football in bad weather? Baker's leadership, I believe, is a perfect match for what the Browns needed.
You came back from that game against Ohio State. By the way, an Ohio State team that beat him soundly in Norman the year before, talking about Baker and talking about him the way you talked about, or you said you talked about Cam Newton after seeing him in high school lead a bunch of college recruits at the University of Florida at a recruiting visit, talking about that there are certain guys that other guys follow. That he became the Pied Piper is what you described Cam Newton as. And that Baker was the same way at Oklahoma. And from that moment, you'd been sold. From that moment, you believe that leadership would translate to the next level.
Yeah, I went on a great trip with Robert Kraft. He took 20-something Hall of Famers to Israel. And, you know, as we start the day, we have a schedule and everything. But it was amazing to me. Like, certain guys wake up and like, you know, something, I'm going to follow whatever it is. But, man, we had 2 guys that all the guys kind of stood out in a way, but Joe Montana and Roger Staubach stood out in a way. It seemed like every day they had a plan. Like every day, when they get off the bus, they were walking a certain way. I didn't even know where I was going. I'm going with them. Because I don't know, Roger, he knows he's a leader. Like Joe, he knows where he's going. And Joe's pretty cool to hang out with, too. But these guys are just different. And being around Baker, that's the same thing I get when I'm with Marino. Marino a pretty good hang, too. But these guys, how they lead people and the fun that they have and the things that they say, they have that little...
Just born to do it. You said it, and this encapsulated it for me, because after his first 2 quarters, and I know we got to move on, after first 2 quarters, I called C, and I said, man, I'm going to go on TV tomorrow because you weren't going to be here. You were traveling for the calling a game. I was like, I'm going to go on TV tomorrow, and I'm going to say Baker's a star. I was like, I know he's only played 2 quarters. Like, talk me off this if you think I should. And he said, man, he goes, we don't question it when it's a pianist or a violinist or a dancer, that this kid was born to do it. We just said he was born to do it. And Baker, to me, seems like a born leader, a guy born to play quarterback in this league, and you can't quantify it. It's just what he's got.
And it's hard to prove it.